Hello there, I am Dr. Pankaj Sharma in front of you with a synoptic overview of the Twelfth Night, or what you will, a comedy by William Shakespeare. At present, I am in the Department of English at Government Degree College, Udhampur, in Jammu Kashmir Union Territory. So, friends, before we begin this module, we would know about the dramatist William Shakespeare, his age, his art, and the main text on which we'll be focusing is The Twelfth Night. It's one of the finest comedies written by William Shakespeare, and it's a comedy of disguise. And one must understand that we cannot say that whatever is being said is the final word on Shakespeare. You can have as much access to the online, offline resources available. Do read the text because reading the text is very important. I will also be sharing with you the textual content in the form of a hyperlink, so that you are able to access that online as well as offline. I always advise that one must have a book by his or her side, because a book cannot be replaced by anything else. No, Twelfth Night, it's a romantic comedy, and as I told you, it's a comedy about misconceptions and disguises, and it's related to the Twelfth Night that happened after the Christmas, that is the day of the birth of Jesus Christ, and the 12th night after that is the night of hilarity, of disguises, where the servants they wear the dresses like the masters, and the master disguise themselves as servants, and there is a lot of hilarity and fun included in that. Now, talking about William Shakespeare, a very handsome guy, I would say a handsome body and an intellectual brain he was having. He was born on 26 April 1564 at Stratford upon Avon, and he occupies a prime position as one of the greatest writers of all times. He's called as the Bard of England, a poet. He was a dramatist, an actor, and a writer. And his works have become the greatest of all times all over the world. And his works have been translated, adopted in many languages, in many forms, and in cinema also, whether it is in English or in other languages. He's still published, yes. His plays are published, republished, translated, and edited, re edited, referred, quoted, and he's remembered through the globe in different forms. And this is the Globe Theatre, which has been rebuilt. It got gutted in fire during his time only, when he was living. But again, the people of England loved him so much that they rebuilt the Globe Theatre, and it is here only that most of his plays were performed. If we talk about William Shakespeare and his writing includes 154 sonnets, many poems, long poems, and around about 38 plays. While his earlier plays were comedies and histories, his later works are tragedies and some tragicomedies also. His reputation is wide, but it was not during the time when he was living. It was only after his death, and particularly in the 19th century, that he became world famous. The critiques and intellectuals like Dr. Johnson, Samuel Johnson, they made him very famous all over the world when he did a lot of research on English poets, and mentioning his plays and dramas and poetry also. And his works have also been interpreted and reinterpreted and performed all around the globe. There are so many societies by his name. I remember one of that is International Society for Shakespeare, and likewise. And as I was telling you, many of his plays have been adapted into cinema. We know there is a movie on his life also, that is Shakespeare in Love, and many titles of his plays have been adapted as movies. Even in India, we have so many movies in Hindi and as well as in Hindustani and other uh, regional languages. Haider movie was based on Hamlet, Bhranti Vilas on the Comedy of Errors, Aravalli on the Taming of Shrew, Marm Yogi or Makbul on Macbeth, Omkara, very known movie on Othello, Golion ki Raslila, Ram Leela on the basis of Romeo and Juliet, and there are many more, and there might be many which might be in the production houses or in the future plans of the cinema producers. And now we need to know about his plays have a world record to his name, and Guinness Book of World Record lists 410 feature length films and TV versions of William Shakespeare's plays. And many of his plays in different languages have been filled. And when we say a feature length film, means it's a movie, a full movie of 2.5 hours or 3 hours. And from all other resources which are present online and offline, we can put it on record that there are approximately 1500 films and other content which has been made on Shakespeare and his works. Many writers have different views on Shakespeare. Ralph Waldo Emerson says he breathed upon dead bodies and brought them into life, nor consequent centuries could hit orbit and some of Shakespeare's wit. Ben Jonson, he was not for an age but for all time. T.S. Eliot, I quote, we can see of Shakespeare that never has a man turned so little knowledge to such great account. Shakespeare belonged to Elizabethan age, the age that was in the name of Queen Elizabeth I when she was on the throne, was also called as the Virgin Queen, and it is under her reign only from 1558 to 1603 England saw a kind of rebirth in national pride. The nationalism was at its peak. An artistic explosion also happened. Many people started writing different forms of literature, poetry, theater, and at the same time there was maritime and international expansion. Many new lands were found. It has started in the 15th century only. It grew up in 16th century. Many new expeditions were made in the sea in different areas. New lands were found. So the world was expanding at that very time as per the European mindset. And a great achievement to Queen Elizabeth happened when they got the armies of England got victory over Spain and they defeated the Spanish Armada. That was a breakthrough for English Navy, and it was an arch rival in Navy at that very time. And it was said that he whosoever controls the seas controls the world. That's why it is called as the golden age of history, culture, and literature of England. Now, coming on to the comedies and Twelfth Night in particular, we must remember that all Shakespearean comedies have the following plan, that the elements we will find in most of the Shakespearean comedies, that there is mistaken identity or there is a misconception, then there is a tirade going in between reason versus emotion, fate and the fantastical. There is idyllic setting of the plays. Those lands are unknown. I would say that the reader or the audience sits on the wings of imagination of Shakespeare and goes into unknown lands and places where all emotions and characters you will find of the different world, but they are lifelike, human-like. In his comedies, there is separation and reconciliation, but at the end, there is happy ending. Talking particularly about Twelfth Night or What You Will, it's a romantic comedy. Romantic means it has romance, it has love, and with their disguises and kind of conspiracies going on, but the mood remains hilarious. There's no tragedy involved, and despite the fact that the play offers a happy ending, in between there are certain confusions. All the lovers, they find their loves in one or the other person, and at the end the happy wedded bliss is achieved. This is how Shakespeare shows one thing more in through these plays, that love and hate relationship go on, and there is pain caused by love also. And at the same time, we would say that this play, as I was telling you, it's the 12th night after the Christmas, and it's also called as the eve of the Feast of Epiphany. And this becomes very prominent. Maybe this was the reason that Shakespeare wrote this play, to record this thing in a historical manner, the 12th night after the Christmas. And it is in this very day, or on this very night, that all the servants, they often dress up as their masters. The women dress as men, and men dress up as women, and so forth. And then there is a carnivalesque reversal on the basis of the play's gender, and gender confusion we also find in the plot of this play. We must have an idea about the characters of the play. We find the following characters. Viola, she is a shipwrecked young woman who disguises herself as a page named Cesario. That was the time that one has to, secure modesty, and at that time, women were not so exposed to the society. Mostly would remain in the four walls of the houses, but there are some daring women. I would say that all the female characters or the heroines of Shakespeare are very bold, beautiful, and intellectual, intelligent women. Then we have Viola's twin brother Sebastian. There is Duke of Illyria, Duke Orsino. We have Olivia, a wealthy countess, Malvolio, steward in Olivia's household, and he's befooled, hoodwinked. Then there is Maria, Olivia's gentlewoman, Sir Toby Belch, Olivia's uncle, Sir Andrew Auchik, a friend of Sir Toby, Feste, Olivia's servant, a jester, a fool. But let me tell you, the fools of Shakespeare are not those sort of stupid fools. They are really having mind, brain, and grey matter to a lot of extent. And sometimes it is said is that they are, the mouthpiece of Shakespeare himself. Then there is a character Fabian, he's a servant in Olivia's household. Antonio, a sea captain and friend to Sebastian. Valentine and Curio are the gentlemen attending on the Duke, a servant of Olivia, and then there is a captain who's friend to Viola. Taking a short snippet of this comedy, what happens is there is mistaken identity. The twins Viola and Sebastian, who are separated in the shipwreck, Viola is afraid that Sebastian might be dead, and vice versa. Sebastian also thinks that Viola is dead, and she disguises herself as a boy and calls herself Cesario. And to remain in disguise and undiscovered, she takes up service with Duke Orsino, who is in love with Olivia. He falls in love but cannot do anything about it due to her disguise, means Cesario, who is actually Viola. She falls in love with Duke Orsino but cannot reveal that thing. And Orsino rather falls in love with a girl called Olivia, but Olivia rejects him. And Orsino, in that case, sends this Viola, who is disguised as Cesario, who is a page to Duke Orsino, to Olivia to try and win her round for Duke Orsino. But Instead of that, Olivia falls in love with Cesario, who in actual is Viola. And meanwhile, Olivia Stewart, who's Malvolio, he was also trying to keep order in the house, but uh, something happens. Sir Toby Belch is a very hilarious character, and his friends, they have great ideas. They befool Malvolio, and they make him feel that Olivia has fallen in love with him, and they make him to do very idiot kind of things, and they convince him that she is in love with him, and make him look very foolish. And Olivia thinks her servant has actually gone mad. And when she sees Sebastian, they have a love at first sight. Yes, the concept of love at first sight also happens here, that in Heart of Hearts, the lover and the hero, Sebastian, and heroine in this case, Olivia, they have this love at first sight. And Sebastian, who actually had survived the shipwreck, where Viola, his sister, was feeling that he might be drowned, and she naturally thinks he is Cesario. Olivia thinks, because they are twins and they are alike twins. So Olivia takes Sebastian for Cesario, and because of the love at first sight, they marry. And Duke Orsino, after knowing this thing, he is very angry, and he finds out this. But once Viola and Sebastian meet and they reveal their true identities, everything ends in a happy manner. Duke Orsino also gets love in the form of Viola. Sebastian had already got Olivia, but it is very shocking and unfortunate for poor Malvolio that he didn't get anything. So this is all. In this very snippet, we get an overview of the comedy, but at the same time, there is an advice for you that you should read the text, and particularly in the printed form, because that can give you an essence and flavor of this comedy. And here, the ppt that I'll be sharing with you would be having link of the play also, that you can read online. And after that, have discussion with your peers, and discuss the different aspects of the dramatist and the drama. So at the end, I would say, have a happy reading of the 12th night. Thank you.